Yeah, you mentioned the Gaza ceasefire plan. I mean, taking on that lobby, the Israel lobby in Washington, D.C., is quite a big first. And some people might not have expected Steve Witkoff, big Zionist, to have done that. I mean, obviously, we heard from Biden trying to claim credit, tragic credit, arguably, over the bodies of so many, mostly women and children. Do you think that gives us a sign that he's willing to take on some of the toughest lobbies there are? Because clearly, I mean, it's obviously also the anniversary of the Eisenhower military-industrial complex speech. I mean, I've seen some arms companies' share prices declining. Do you think that he wants peace? Is he really the peace president that he campaigned as?
I think he is. Now, in saying that, that doesn't mean that he doesn't want to wander around the world doing things and that he's not willing to kind of try to assert American power and make threats.
Yeah, you said Greenland and Panama, actually. You might want to go into that because, I mean, they are strategic decisions.
That's right. Now, I mean, almost any American security analyst would say there are reasons for the United States to care about what happens to both the Panama Canal and Greenland. But, virtually none of them would say that you kind of show up and threaten Denmark that you might seize Greenland, or you seem to be implying that we'll use military force if we want to take the Panama Canal back. But, of course, part of that, I think, is seeking leverage. It shows that he has this unilateralist impulse to him, where the U.S. is a great power and it needs to do what it needs to do. But I think part of that is he really doesn't want to go to war. And I think we have to give him credit. The way he talks, for example, is, he talks about the loss of life in Ukraine and how terrible that is. Well, frankly, most, American presidents don't worry an awful lot about people dying in other countries. George W. Bush never spent a lot of time lamenting the hundreds of thousands of Iraqis who died after the U.S. invasion. And, 8 years ago when Trump ran, he gave a foreign policy speech. And in that, at one point, he talked about aggression and criticized U.S. policy in places like Iraq. So I think buried within Trump's bluster really is a desire to make sure Americans aren't dying in stupid wars. And he'd prefer other people not die as well. But he really doesn't want to get the U.S. involved in a war. He's talked about the dangers of nuclear war. He recognizes what could happen, in terms of Ukraine, Russia, if that went, into a war with NATO. So I think this is very real. Again, he doesn't have a clear philosophy exactly how to make it happen, but I think we should give him credit that more than I think any at least recent president, certainly Joe Biden, he really worries about these issues in a way that the others haven't.